What is up, everybody? We're live here, and Chad just rolled out. But
Yeah, he's
we are
back.
live. Chad is back. Have a lot to talk about today. The first thing I want to talk about is it is June 4th, 7:38 p.m., and Deshaun Watson is still your quarterback.
Sorry.
With that being said, Chad, Angel, what's up, guys? How was your guys' weekend?
Mine was good. Mine was good. I forgot what I did. Oh, it was just a lot of people. I was around a lot of people this weekend. Birthdays, gender reveal party, and I don't know what I did. Oh, my daughter's actual birthday was Friday, so a lot of partying, gentle partying, nothing crazy.
Kid partying, yeah.
Yeah.
Different kind.
Not me. My Saturday was a good Saturday. Don't get me wrong. I went golfing in the morning. And then my buddy came over, we did some fishing, and I drank and ate a lot, and I hated myself Sunday. So that's long story short. How was your weekend, Chad?
Pretty chill. I think I told you guys I went out for a little happy hour cruise on Friday, and Saturday I had some house adult duties to catch up on, but took a pretty chill Sunday. I would say pretty slow for me.
How was that e-bike?
A welcome slow. Oh, it's the best. Best purchase ever, especially out here.
I want one. Bad.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd rock one all day.
They're fun. You go shopping for one. It's it replaced having a little Vespa scooter for me, but it's a little more fun because you could sometimes take it down like bike paths or like off the road a little bit and do some cut throughs. And for getting around San Diego, it's very neighborhoody. People don't like to leave like their walkable neighborhood distance. So the fact that me and I don't know 7 or 8 of my friends have an e-bike gives us a lot more chances to cruise out and meet up in each other's neighborhoods.
It's because they don't want to pay that tax. I'm sorry.
What tax?
Oh, you missed that conversation.
The electric bike tax too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there's supposed to be some tax benefit too for people that get e-bikes too. So it's like yeah, we're gonna give you a refund for this, and we're gonna tax you for this, and it'll probably all even out in the end, but who knows? They can't make up their minds.
Angel, I just seen your picture. What liquid death are you drinking right now?
Oh, that's the cherry one. I believe it or not, we bought my 8-year-old daughter wanted a mini fridge for her birthday. As weird as that sounds. And she likes the cherry one, and I ran out of mine. So as she was sleeping, I snuck in her refrigerator and took one. She's gonna be mad at me,
Nice.
but I told her I pay for it, so I could take it when I want. But she's gonna be not happy at me in the morning when she sees her last one missing.
Fair enough.
Everything in the house belongs to you.
Yes.
I tried to tell my kids that. I told them to turn on the TV when I got home, and he looked at me like I was wrong. I'm like, wait, what? And I felt like I did something wrong. The way he looked at me, it felt horrible. But anyways, let's get on to the Browns. OTAs are still going well. You got mandatory minicamp next week. That's, I think, the 11th through the 13th. We touched base with that a little bit last week. That's mandatory. Everybody has to be there. It is what it is. Yeah,
I believe some teams have already started their mandatory mini camps.
Yeah, they did
now, and I don't remember how the rule works. I think some is like you have a new head coach or like different things. You might be on a little different schedule, but yeah, some teams have started theirs already. Brown's still closing up OTAs and have another week before mandatories.
Before we get on topic, I did hear something today. Speaking of OTAs, I guess they're going to try to get rid of optional OTAs completely and just go right to minicamp. So there'll be no May football for us. It's just you wait till minicamp and then jump right into it.
So they wait. What do you guys think of that proposition? I read about that too. It's part of like the new players proposal for the players union. Want to I believe it's, if I'm remembering correctly, they want to scrap voluntary workouts. I think there still might be like a rookie camp after the draft, but they want to scrap all of the voluntary workouts. So the like April, like voluntary workouts, and then the May OTAs, they want to completely scrap, and then they want to instead add an extra full month or something like that to training camp, which means training camp would go longer with a bigger off gap in the middle.
Almost
Is
in a
that-
preseason.
Is that to fill the gap for less preseason games and possibly another full season?
I think it had to do with like
Right.
it has to do, I think, somewhat with like player control, but I think they want they want to add that 18th game.
Yeah, so they're
That's
doing
what
whatever they
makes some of this
can.
game. Yeah,
Thanks,
so
guys. I
think
wanted to
they're
bring
saying,
that
like,
part
well,
up
we're
at
going
the
to
end
play.
of the game or the end of the show, but we're going to bring it up right now. Let's do it.
Well, I think it's part of it though. I think that's where
Yeah.
like the NFL is the owners are saying like, hey, everybody kind of knows they want to add an 18th game, and that always gives the players a chance to like negotiate, which means they're going to ask for something else. I thought it was kind of crazy though, because they didn't just ask for like no more OTAs. They asked to like cut out the voluntary stuff and just make the mandatory stuff a little longer for like a more of a longer training camp ramp up. I thought that was kind of an odd ask.
You would think they would want more voluntary so they don't have to go in as opposed to I have to go in.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I agree. That makes sense. I don't get me wrong. It's another week of professional football, NFL football, which we all love. I would love for there to be another week of football. I think that's awesome. What I think, I heard Roger Goodell honestly hates preseason. He does not want a preseason at all. So I don't say have a preseason game. What I would like to see is kind of like a Pro Bowl thing with all the rookies, because you see mainly rookies, second and third stringers. Throw all the rookies from every team. Make it like a Pro Bowl. One person for two people from each team. Just throw them out there and let them play.
That's hard though, because they want like the coaches are going to want their guys to do just the things that they've been practicing at their own place, right?
Thanks, Chad. I didn't think of that.
You throw in like the Senior Bowl version where it's like they can do drills or they can play a game, but like all of a sudden you're trying to absorb another quick learning experience.
And I don't mind preseason. It's a bummer that the games don't count, but it's good to be able to see football, early August.
I totally ignore it.
Yeah.
I watch it still. I still watch it.
I'm one of the I used to be so locked in, and I think it was because like the Browns used to draft so many people that I needed to see their impact. But then I look at like last year, and then again, I think it'll be pretty similar this year, where I think most of the guys that are out there for most of the time are guys that are going to be at risk of not even making the team. So I feel like preseason is going to come on for the second year in a row. I'm going to be completely disengaged.
Yeah, you got to earn that strike.
I hope not. Yeah, I hope not. I hope I'm in it, but I'm just sort of like, I remember last year, remember that giant conversation of like at the end of preseason, that huge conversation of like, who do we want? Jalen Darden, or there was another guy. There's like two receivers who were like battling for this like 6th spot on the team. And one of them made the practice squad. And the other one, I think, got cut. But it was like, man, we just watch all these preseason games where we're like, you get attached, like, this is my guy. And then like preseason ends and he gets cut. And the craziest part is like no other team even like picks him up to their active roster.
And
So, like,
fans get mad. They're like, why can't we keep that guy? He's going to be a great player and doesn't even get on a team after. It's weird.
Yeah. That eventually caught up to me where I was like, I don't know, man. But yeah, Roger Goodell, I think I agree with you though. I've heard a bunch of times Roger Goodell wants to keep constantly trimming down preseason and cutting another game off. And I was shocked they got away with it. They cut one off last year, added a real game. I'm all for that. I think eventually you can overdo it, but I think 17, 18 games still totally fine. The only thing I don't like about it is it makes the schedule uneven. It like makes it more odd to try to fill in that last game. Like records get kind of thrown off, but there's something about like 16 games, 4 game quarters, kind of a definite mid-season. Like they're just very even and it was good. And now it's a little harder at 17.
I don't mind. It's more football. That's what I want to see. I like it.
Yeah, I saw some article about like, will there be burnout? And I thought like, will there be burnout? There's like 80 something basketball games and 199, like 152
152, yeah.
baseball games.
$1
There's
billion.
647 baseball games in this season. I'm like, I hope we don't get burnt out on one more NFL game, but yeah, I don't know. I'd be up for another game. Preseason, you can edit however you want, but if it came to that OTA rule, like I would say, I like the break. Like we could still talk about whatever. Like we don't need mini camps and OTAs to do the conversations we're having right now. We're not really getting anything from them. The media is barely there. So I would actually be pretty happy, I think, with a longer, like 2 month, like
Hiatus.
more organized training camp and not like April and May and early June camps. Like you could just wash those. I get it from the player's perspective, from the degree of like, well, now you can disappear for a couple months. You don't have to keep coming back to Cleveland or Minnesota or wherever you are for like April for a bit, and then back in May for a bit, and then back in June for a bit. It's like you can actually just be gone for a while, shut it down. But
To each their own. That's why they're optional.
mm-hmm.
But
I
the
know. I think the players are probably tired of the storylines when they don't show up. Though.
yeah, that's what I was
Optional.
gonna say. The fans,
Yeah,
the fans and the media saying, "Oh, this guy who's a 8-year veteran is not making OTAs. That's not a good look for leadership." It's like he's been in the system for 8 years.
What
What
like,
is he?
why isn't Jamar Chase there? Is he mad about his contract?
Yeah.
Like, and it's like he's just not there because it's an option and he doesn't need it. But
He's just not there because he's not Justin Jefferson now.
Yeah, he wants that Justin Jefferson money.
That money.
Oh, that's all it's
Justin
about.
Jefferson got paid.
They're saying it's becoming a passing league now, and that's why running backs are getting paid less and less. Wide receivers are starting to get paid more and more, and people are kind of getting in an uproar about it because I know we're going off subject here, but people are getting in an uproar about it because a lot of teams running back, Nick Chubb, for example, is that ingredient that other teams want or need. But I hear it's going into a higher passing level again, like it used to be.
It ebbs and flows, or maybe it will just ebb. I don't know. We'll see in the next decade, but it does seem like passing is the way to go.
Much more yards. So let's get off the OTAs and mini camps and preseason, and let's go to our defense. So today, while at work, I was watching tape of last year's defense. I'm very impressed with Jim Schwartz first and foremost. The guy came here as a legend, and he has turned his defense around dramatically, and I'm sure you could agree with that.
Yes.
That 4-3 basic package that we use on defense just seems to work unless we're playing like the Broncos or something stupid.
In Denver.
Yeah, in Denver.
Yeah, I mean, it worked. It worked like all but maybe like 3 games, and when it didn't work, it completely bombed. But
Fell apart.
it is a high-risk defense that's going to work more times than it doesn't.
The thing I liked the most about today, watching this tape from last year, was I didn't realize how many forced fumbles we had, how many actual interceptions. And today we're focused on defensive line. I didn't realize how much pressure there actually was. As you watch these plays, you're like, wow, every single play, there's so much pressure from the line. And that's their job, building pressure against the quarterback to either fumble the ball or throw an interception. We've talked about this numerous times before. Pressure is almost as good as a sack.
Yeah, because you throw off the quarterback's rhythm if you pressure him. Even if you don't get him, bump him, hit him in the elbow, knock his hand down a little bit. He gets start getting his head. Joe Burrow's proof of that. Even when when he plays us, he seems to get rattled pretty easy, especially with Myles Garrett rushing in on him.
I would be too, though.
Take a quick time out on Joe Burrow since you brought him up. I won't get super off track, but I was in a little Twitter conversation with somebody this morning because apparently he wasn't at camp today. Not a huge deal, maybe. But the one guy was speculating that he heard, like it was some NFL guy I'm not familiar with, but his credentials is that he's an NFL insider. And these days I'm like Twitter, X, whatever. That might not mean he actually is, but that's what he's listed as. He had commented that like he had been hearing from people through the Bengals that Joe Burrow still wrist still isn't right from the injury he had last year that caused him to miss so many games. And he said, just keep an eye on it through camp because I think the expectation was in like a few months he would be normal, and they're saying he's not there. And I think it's interesting to bring up because we've heard so much about like Deshaun Watson's like splitting days, like rotating on and off days so he can recover appropriately. But I hadn't heard anything until today that Joe Burrow had any health concern. This was the first time, and the guy's like, I've been talking about it for 2 or 3 months that I was hearing that it was a much worse injury that was ever released. And I think part of the commenting was on how their offensive line had trouble with so many teams' defensive lines, and as usual, Burrow was getting knocked last year.
And that was his wrist, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he I think he fractured his wrist or something, but they're saying the surgery was to like correct the alignment of the bone. I didn't have a chance to look into it and find out like if there was some kind of reasonable medical report that I could check into, but I'll look into it for the next show. But it was the first time I'd heard it, and it was just maybe 2 or 3 hours ago it came up that he might still have something going on with that wrist.
That's not good.
You heard that here first from Cadillac Sports.
Yeah, and by the way, it seems relevant for a show about our defensive line, which has
beat him up.
I think probably the best defensive line we've had right now, even better than last year's. And for 3 years in a row, they've been going at him. I mean, they really have been terrorizing him.
Colton said AJ Hawk had the same surgery as Burrow had, and his wrist has never went back to normal. And I think that might throw Burrow off, but I could be wrong. So he's kind of
I'll look into the details, but that's interesting to hear from somebody. I didn't know that.
That is insane. I mean, what honestly, you know, the repercussions of a surgery like that and everything. What is the healing time and all that of that, Chad?
I have to look. I didn't take any time to look into like what actual surgery procedure he had. I just knew he had a wrist injury, and I kind of let it go. You know, I wasn't really focusing on much on it because no one was talking about it. So.
Yeah, it seemed like it's a minor thing. It's just a wrist.
Yeah, it seemed like he fractured his wrist. He'll be out for 6 weeks. He's gonna miss this portion of the season. Next year he'll be fine. And I never even looked to see like was that report right or was they underreporting it. So I'll look into it. But yeah, right now I can't tell you anything. I'm not sure.
And I remember that last game he came into. He actually came in with like an ace bandage around his wrist, and nobody's seen it until after the injury that game. And then everybody wanted to point it out, like, look, he came in here, his wrist was already hurting.
Yeah, man. I remember that.
I don't want any team to have injuries. I'd like to play a team at their fullest. We've had this conversation numerous times as well.
I'm okay. I'm okay with regardless of if we win, we win. They could be playing their fourth string. If we win, we win.
Me and my friends do have that conversation. It's a pretty fair conversation. I'll play anybody at their most hurt. Like bring it on.
Yes, but at the same time, you got to think like, man, we beat this team, and they have these iconic players, and they're making tons of money. That's great, but you want to beat that team at its fullest. Don't get me wrong. We took a fall this year, and we made a lot of things happen. Can other teams do it? Yeah, I mean that's why you got second and third stringers, right?
Yeah, that's why
I didn't hear anybody feeling bad for the Browns last year. That's why I'm like, whatever. Lamar's hurt.
We did.
The only one that felt bad was Browns. The Browns fans that are people that felt bad. Yeah, I'm all about. Hey man, we play who we play. They didn't say they actually wanted to crucify our coaching staff, even though they stayed above water until the playoff game. But I mean, it's part of the game, man. If Burrow can't play, I'm sorry, man. I mean, we don't play him till like week 5, 6 anyways. So
I didn't mean to get us that off track with Burrow, but yes,
you're good.
It's worth bringing up that something's up, and I'm going to be looking into it.
We are going to take one little quick break here. We have a new sponsor for the show, Doug White and Allstate and Homestead Falls. I'd like to thank you, Doug White, and his team over there at Allstate and Homestead Falls. We're going to play this ad real quick, and then we'll get right back into what we came here to talk about, gentlemen. How's that sound?
The defense.
Let's go.
So we will be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Angel from the Bearded Browns podcast, and I got some mind-blowing news for you. Did you know that the soaring auto insurance costs are fueling the inflation at an even faster rate than expected? Car insurance prices shot up by an unbelievable 2.7% in a month. And that's a staggering 2.2% year over year. And that's not all. The rising costs are piling on top of already sky-high prices of new and used vehicles since the pandemic, as well as the increasing expenses for vehicle repairs. But fear not, because I got the solution for you. Meet Doug White. He's from Allstate Insurance. He's your go-to guy for all things insurance, whether it's auto insurance, home insurance, renter insurance, condo insurance, motorcycle insurance, business insurance, ATV insurance, boat insurance, even, most importantly, life insurance. Doug here got you covered. And guess what? You can bundle them all together to get maximum savings. Doug is your local legend, serving the Olmsted Falls community for a whopping 16 years. Not only is he a diehard Browns fan, but he's also deeply passionate about his city and its people. What are you waiting for? Give Doug a call at 1-440-235-8500. That's 1-440-235-8500. Or simply go to Google's and look up Doug White Allstate Insurance. And if you see this face, then you know you found the right guy for all your insurance needs. Don't let your insurance company keep a hold of your hard-earned money. Call Doug today. And remember, you're in good hands with Allstate. With that being said, go Browns! Hey everyone, this is Angel from the Bearded Browns podcast. There it is.
Hey, we are back.
Hey.
I'm playing that return music. We're coming back. Just lightly. Nice little come in, you know?
Yeah, give us a heads up.
Yes.
Stop talking.
Boom.
So yeah, thank you again to Doug White of Allstate in Olmsted Falls. If you guys need anything insurance-wise, give him a call. Angel did a great job on that ad as well.
Yeah, and also if any small business out there wants to, advertise with us, we're open-minded. Email us at beardedbrownspodcast@gmail.com and let's talk business.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about football.
Business and football. So,
All right, where do we want to start? We want to start interior. We want to start at the edges.
Let's start interior, and we'll save the best for last. Interiors. Like I said earlier, I was watching a lot of tape from last year, and the interior actually got in there quite a bit. That's amazing. I loved it. I got goosebumps watching this video earlier. I'm not kidding. I wanted to send it to you guys, but it was already later in the day, and I'm like, oh man, it's just that whole season gave us goosebumps, obviously. But Delvin Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, man, you got, what is it? Agbo Okoronkwo. We have an amazing defensive line. We also hired a new defensive line coach this year. What is his name? Jacques Césaire, the defensive line coach.
It is.
Yeah, that sounds right.
He was featured quite a bit on that Mike Hall Browns Unleashed video that we were all watching last weekend.
I don't know if it's Jax or Jacques Césaire.
I don't know.
But yeah, you win some, you lose some, and that name is hard as hell to say. I was trying to think of it earlier. I'm like sitting there staring at it, and I'm like, I'm good with English. Why can't I pronounce this? And I tried to look it up, and yeah, I failed miserably. Probably saying it completely wrong, so I'm sorry. I had advance, buddy. I'm sorry.
Our bad. Yeah. So for the big guys in the middle, I think this is one of those position groups that I think is a little bit funny. So when they talk about, you mentioned earlier on the podcast how much of a difference it was bringing in a new defensive coordinator. I think anybody who is watching can see the immediate difference in the impact he makes, but you're going to get a little pushback about the amount of talent that he has compared to Joe Woods, our previous defensive coordinator who came in with Stefanski. I think when I look at it, I could see it, but not really globally so much. I think Clowney was really serviceable for the time we had him. A lot of pressures was really good. Garrett was still there doing Myles Garrett things. You could make an argument that the safeties have been up and down, but we've had safety injuries, especially last year, that kind of held things back. Of all the positions, I think the one that stands out to me that is an actual legitimate, non-arguable upgrade is the defensive interior. That is the one group I think that Schwartz has that Joe Woods didn't have, that went from maybe one of the worst in the NFL to where I was thinking, dude, we need to draft a guy every year to get this position back in line, to now as a whole, even though it lacks kind of star power as a whole, definitely one of the strongest position groups.
In 1 year, like a dramatic turnaround. Just bam, done.
Yeah, 2023, they brought in some free agency. They shifted things around. 2024, they brought in an additional free agent, brought back the guys we thought we might be losing, and used their first actual NFL draft pick on another one. So I think, again, from a position of weakness to a position of strength right away. And on your point of like pass rush with this defense, this is not a hold up your block defensive line type of a defense. Defense is going to try to get pressure from the outsides, try to get pressure occasionally from, they don't blitz a ton, but could occasionally get pressure from linebackers and safeties, but they expect pressure from that front group. Those defensive linemen and the edge rushers especially. And I think that is for the most part, the type of defensive interior that they put together. Do you guys want to run through the names here real quick of who we've got on the defensive interior?
So, do you want to do that, Chad? You got that, or you want me to?
I can do it. I got it right up here. So the guys we got coming in, at least the main players we have coming in, is Sika Ika, who we'll see what his role is if he can stay on this team. Dalvin Tomlinson, our big free agent signing from last year. Quentin Jefferson, who we brought in from the Jets for this season.
He's injured right
Shelby
now, correctly?
Harris. I'm not sure, actually.
I got right
Shelby
here.
Harris, who we brought in last year and then ended up re-signing another deal in the offseason. Maurice Hurst, who we brought in last year and ended up signing another deal for this year. And then Mike Hall Jr. And Juwan Briggs.
Two rookies.
Kind of rounding out the young guys coming in. I don't think I missed anybody. I think that is it. The guy who kind of stands out to me on the line, like I said, is Siaki Ika, who is, only a second-year player, but man, did he show so close to nothing last year. I still feel like they're going to try to make him work because they used a fair pick on him. What was he, a third?
Yeah, it's a third
round pick.
I think it was a pretty high third too, up in the middle.
And I have to imagine they're going to try to make him work. But when you look at those names, like again, like they Hurst showed a lot, ended up, missing some time, but Hurst showed a lot. And he was able to
peanut butter.
He was able to kind of really jump in and do something when he was given the chance. So his numbers were actually some of the highest on the team. Shelby Harris, I think, mixed really well with Dalvin Tomlinson, and
yes,
that combination. They don't play the same, but that combination was pretty potent last year. So. I think pairing those people together again, like, makes for a nice little return group with even more time to learn to work together.
Do you guys think we'll see any of these rookies out on the field this year? Do a rotation. DeJuan Jones. I'm sorry, not DeJuan Jones. Wow. Mike Hall and
Briggs.
Juwan Briggs. Yeah.
I hope so. I hope they. I mean, I hope it's not to where they're like desperately need them to perform, but I hope it's getting them in there to kind of like prepare them for the future. I would like to see them get a couple snaps a game. Hopefully, they're blowing teams out where they're just all right. Get in there and in the fourth quarter and get some playing time. But I hope so. In that aspect, I hope you are not leaning on them to perform to what these other players who've been in the league longer than they have will.
We'll see them in preseason. That goes without saying.
It's the only reason why we watch preseason.
Not Chad,
Yeah,
though.
it usually is to see what the rooks look like. I'm one. I mean, I like Juwan Briggs. I like his story. I heard an interview with him. He's a fun kid to hear from.
Yes.
Man, he's going to have a tough task to make this team. He was a really late pick. He is in a really deep squad. I have to imagine he's got a great shot to at least make the practice squad, but I'm trying to think of a scenario where he can make this team just straight up. I don't know. That's a tough one because they're so deep right there. And the guys that we named, all of them are returning from last year. They almost all had a pretty good season last year. I just don't know how you have more room for anything more than Michael Hall, who I do expect will get rotational time. They brought him for a very specific reason, which we can talk about in a minute. But like, I would expect he is the type of player who could get out there situationally right away in some packages, either just to spell guys or just because he's just got one tremendous skill. But yeah, I don't know. Briggs is going to have a tough road to get in. But again, 7th round pick. It's not like he's a giant risk of getting nabbed by another team. He's somebody they're going to at least want to try to keep around the practice squad.
Developmental. Okay, it's what it is.
Yeah.
This defensive line is hard to beat with the players we have on it. I'm sure everybody agrees with that. That's something. We are stacked on defensive line, even through a rotation. Like I said, watching that video earlier, I was so impressed with seeing the pressure from the defensive line. And again, I'll bring it up. Pressures are almost as good as sacks. Like they're there. People don't realize that. That's what kind of pisses me off. Like, oh man, you could have had that sack. No, dude, that was a pressure, a huge pressure that gained either little to no yards. Is a big thing in this league. You need that. Pressures are huge. You need those guys that can get in there, pass the offensive line, and make plays happen. That's just me.
Yeah, and they're designed to have pressure up the middle, kind of a defense like we talked about. And they've kind of overhauled it to try to fit this defense. So we'll see where they can go. But the group they got in is strong. I think you mentioned a rotation, and I think Schwartz had mentioned in an earlier offseason interview that's kind of the goal. Like they want to rotate these guys. They want to keep these guys fresh, and we should be expecting to see guys getting shifted from outside to inside, and the inside guys, getting less consecutive snaps so they can come out and really have high energy. I mean, we're talking big 300 pounders out here now. So, play after play, there's some fatigue that comes along with carrying that much weight into another 300 pound offensive lineman. So,
yes. And I don't want to get into safeties or linebackers too much, but you're playing that 4-3 basic. I think Schwartz has an idea of when it's good to blitz guys out of the backfield and when not to. Does that make sense? You gotta,
they don't blitz a ton. It's a lot of just pressure from the front.
Exactly.
Front pressure.
So that's a smart move on Schwartz's and like I said last year, you've seen more interceptions, more coverage. Not that zone or the zone coverage. God, I hate zone coverage. I want man-to-man coverage. I know we played a little bit of zone last year.
It's a problem. Yeah, it's a problem that we can't play zone.
Yes.
I think we were playing zone in the playoff game because that defense was not. I think we played zone on the road and man at home, but that's what it felt like. But yeah, zone was not. We got to figure that out. We have to
Yeah,
figure
you should
that
be able
out.
to play zone defense. There's certain teams that you play in certain matchups where you should be able to zone up. Um, I would take the argument that the way this team is built, man is a better system, but
You
but
need
when you do have to switch to that, you should be able to.
you
And
need to be
that's a short point
versatile
for
and
them.
yeah, you should be versatile enough. You don't have to be like great at both, but versatile enough to, you know, be good, be average.
Angel, you and I had to talk. You got to be able to adapt and move things around. To that Texans game, the playoff game, was trash. That was defense was not there at all.
I think Flacco's second interception had a lot to do with that. I think they mentally they just checked out after that, but you know we'll never know.
Which is not character of them.
Yeah,
They were pretty brutal throughout last year, but yeah, and of course the defensive line, like I said, they're just at a certain point they're huffing and puffing and they're just trying to do that what's in front of them kind of job. It's not the same. It's not the same as the secondary who are constantly having to read off each other, communicate,
yeah,
make switches, whatever, draw a second coverage. This is just you have a simple task of either contain your linemen and take up blocks or rush the passer. And I would expect, as good as the defense was last year, and it's hard to ask for more than a top 3 defense, I would look for the defensive line to be an upgrade this year because for several reasons. One, they've stacked more chips. So when we look back at that make believe depth chart I put up, I think the Browns kept only 4 defensive tackles last year. It was Tomlinson, Harris, Mo Hurst, who eventually got hurt, and Siaki Ika was their like base inside 4. And then I know they shifted some people. I know they did a little bit of like moving outside guys in to take up some space. But this year, with the guys they have, I would actually expect talent-wise them to keep 5 because Dalvin Tomlinson's a lock. He's got a lot of guaranteed money, but they paid him to be the one kind of big body on that defense to be able to help stop the run and really clog up the interior. Shelby Harris they just brought back in, and I think they might have given him a 2-year deal. Not positive, but he played really well last year. No reason to think anything different. Mo Hurst was incredible when he was actually out on the field, just inconsistent, but really good. Quentin Jefferson, another free agent that they just brought in. So you're thinking nobody's ever a lock, but besides outside of injuries, which you never want to assume, you bring the guy in, you saw something in him that you liked and you want him playing. And then you drafted Mike Hall. He's going to be on the field. He's a second round pick, and he was drafted to do a job, so he'll be there. And so that's already 5 defensive tackles. That's more than they had last year, and we haven't even gotten to Siaki Ika, who they still want, and
Juwan Briggs.
And Briggs, who of course they drafted really late, but obviously they would love for him to make the team. So it's a deep position, and going from last year to this year, they're going to have more rest. They're going to have more time working together, and they're going to have a better idea of the system. Plus, they're going to come into this season with a taste in their mouth from that final game last year.
yeah.
And I know that game was not on the defensive line. That game was on our secondary and a little bit on Joe Flacco. But they're coming in feeling like, let's
that
get out
dog
there.
mentality.
I really feel like they're going to come in ready to just stomp. And the other thing is, I think we talked about it last week a little bit, even though we weren't on D-line yet when we were talking PFF stuff. Dalvin Tomlinson is one of the better defensive linemen in the league. And he had his worst year of his career last year. And it may have to do with just like the change of scenery from like him moving over to the Browns. But I mean, he was a legit 81 in 2017, 76, 78, 75, 75, 77. Those are all like bright green, like Pro Bowl level defensive line scores. And then last year, just a 61.
Typical Browns fashion.
Yeah, so it's like that was a big drop off, but the reality is like you have to imagine when somebody's that consistently good for that long. It's not like he played for 2 or 3 years and then he got that big contract and stopped. He got his first big contract I think in 2020 and he still tore it up 2020, 2021, 2022. Last year, like I don't know if he was banged up a little. I don't know if it's the system. I don't know what it was. I still thought from some of the times I saw him on the field, he was still doing some work. But in just the laws of averages, you're thinking good, average. I'm betting more likely he's going to be better this year than worse. So that's just another spot where it's like, okay,
Shelby Harris,
if he gets any better, holy cow.
Shelby Harris.
Yeah, I like Harris too. Yeah,
he's hungry.
Yeah, Shelby Harris was a beast. Another veteran. It's a really veteran room too.
It is.
Man, it's a good veteran room.
Credit to Andrew Berry for finding that talent and paying him.
It's weird to say, but a lot of these guys were born in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Chad. Now I feel my age. Thank you.
You can believe that. We have linemen who born in the
90s.
James said, yes, the Mo Belly
the 1900s. These guys were born in the 1900s.
That's crazy.
That's a veteran room. But I feel pretty good about it. Like you got, obviously Siaki Ika, we got to see something from him. But Tomlinson's older, Shelby Harris is older, Quinn Jefferson's older, real veteran guys. Maurice Hurst, I don't think is that old. He's what? This is his 6th year. So also born in the 90s, but not that old. But then you got Mike Hall coming in as like the young gun. So, as
Chad, peanut butter's knocked out his internet again.
Peanut butter.
Somebody like,
oh, there he is. Oh, maybe not.
No, he's back. No,
there you are.
He's
we lost you for a second.
Mr. Robot. No.
Am I on and off?
You're good.
You're good.
On my screen, I'm totally fine the whole time.
Same here.
You're good now.
So if anybody's watching from over here, it looks good.
Yeah.
No, but that's kind of my thought is like they got an older veteran line. The older guys are on 1-year contracts, and they're doing a good job of bringing in young guys that they can start sliding into that position as these other guys fall off.
Chad, you're not allowed to pause anymore. You can't that screwed me all up. I was like, I'm sitting there clicking on your screen to make sure you're still there.
Yeah, it's exciting that line. Now that when you bring up those names, I'm often reminded of how good they played, and I'm often reminded of how horrible they were before, how horrible our line was before they came, and how the run was they just ran up the middle every play, and how my heart broke every game. But yeah, that credit to the Brown staff for upgrading that. It's going to be exciting to watch them for sure, and allowing that. And I know we're going to hit the edge in a minute, but that just, I think the edge helps them, play free because you have 2 great edge rushers opening up, which will help, I think, Hall get in there too. I think they're going to line him up a little outside too, a little bit, but we'll get into that later.
One more thing before we take one more break. A lot of people don't understand that there is a rotation on a defensive line. And when you're listening to these games, you hear different names. You're like, wait, what is that guy position? What is he playing? You guys, you got to pay attention to that because these guys are out there and they're making plays happen, big plays. That's second and third stringers.
Defensive line's probably the biggest rotation, right?
I would have to agree.
You may go back and forth with 2 running backs to have like a third down or a passing down back, but the defensive line is rotating sometimes every series.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 or 2 guys are coming in and out along that line.
And you get that 40 seconds to make that change. So those guys are running on and off the field.
Because a lot of it's down specialized, right? Like if certain players are better at third down, passing plays, rushing plays, you're going to adjust your player to the scheme.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're just big boys that you want to keep fresh. Their job, I mean, every single play they're smashing into 1 or sometimes 2 offensive linemen, and it's like that is tough to do. So so they rotate them out, try to keep them fresh. Not every defense does as much as the Browns probably will, but they've got the talent. They're going to rotate about a lot, I think.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about edge rushers. We saved the best for last today.
Yes.
I got a lot. Like, we kind of touched base on it in previous shows as well. But, yeah, we'll be right back. What is up, everybody? Mike Wilkes here from the Bearded Browns podcast, letting you know that we're going to be working with Mistakes on the Lake Clothing. They have everything you need. Why not check them out? If you want to go to their store, it's 4542 Liberty Avenue in beautiful Vermilion, Ohio. If you want to contact them, their phone number is 440-670-3145. They have everything from Cleveland to Columbus gear. They have Lake Erie gear. Why not check it out? It's all great stuff you can get for your wife, your kids, your newborn. They even have onesies. Shirts that say good moms and dads don't raise Michigan fans, just Ohio stuff, and it's awesome. So be sure to check them out. They have everything you need. Even the candles, custom coasters, can koozies, wine tumblers, phone grips, everything, stickers. It is awesome. Check them out. Do not be the mistake on a lake and regret this decision. Go and check them out.
Those teams, especially Miami, because they're tough.
Yeah. And they seem to play well in the playoffs.
Especially Miami. We're back. So let's move on to edge rushers. I'll announce the names. We got Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith are the two important ones. But there are others. There are others, just like we talked about, line switching, just like in hockey, Chad, you're not frozen. All right. I seen your light switching.
Yeah. I thought he was frozen for a second time. He is still. Good.
So, yeah, we got Zadarius Smith, Myles Garrett, Alex Wright, Obo Ankarakwo, which I love. I love that guy. That's
It's a fun name to say, too.
But yeah, and you'll never miss it when you hear it on TV because you're like, Jim Donovan gets so into it. He's like, Obo Ankarakwo. I'm like, yeah.
I would mess that up every time. So.
Yeah, there's no way. I can't say it sober. I can't say it drunk either. Edge rushers, a very, very important part of every single defense. We watch them come and go. We watch them dominate, and we watch them do poorly. I think our edge rushing defensive line is also another huge part of this defense. You got Myles Garrett getting double, sometimes triple teamed. Then you got Zadarius Smith on the other side, just the left side, just getting in there and getting pressures. At least, if not a sack, a pressure, throwing the whole offense off on the other team. And that is amazing to watch. Not a lot of people watch defense like we do, you know what I mean? So we understand a little bit more than other people do, but when you watch a defense play, especially a line and your edge rushers, that is, I want to say, the number one part of your defense, both line and edge. Do you guys disagree with that? Or I mean,
yeah,
linebackers and all that are important, but
I think edge especially now with it being going to a passing league, your edge rushers need to be elite. At least have two elite ones, or at least 1.5, to where if that one gets held up, your star gets held up, your second one can get in there. But yeah, edge rushers are, and being deep at them at edge rushers help. And I think the Browns are getting there because I do like Alex Wright. I think he might have a good year.
I think, I follow that old adage of the trenches. Games are won in the trenches. I think, we talked about earlier with Joe Burrow, your offensive line is critically important to Um,
Chad, you're gonna have to
being
rewind.
useful.
We lost you
You-
for a second.
Am I still kicking out?
You're
Yeah,
off.
you're good now.
Yeah, you're.
My internet connection must be a dump. But basically, the defensive line is that position group that is necessary to make anyone else on your defense useful. Like your cornerbacks, your safeties, your linebackers do not function correctly unless your defensive line is good. And just like the left tackle is kind of the anchor of your offensive line group, the right pass rusher in most cases is the anchor of your defensive group. You know, having somebody elite there. You can see from just watching the draft. The NFL agrees. If you are an elite pass rusher, you're going right up there where the quarterbacks are going. That's how important I think the NFL sees these guys. You disrupt the play. You make your cornerbacks, safeties, linebackers more valuable. You make the job for your defensive line easy because they don't need to make contact with the quarterback. They just need to throw him, pause him, or throw him in your direction, and you can really kind of impact every quarterback, even some of the best quarterbacks in the game, by just breathing on them every few snaps and making them a little jittery. So
You guys all know the old saying, defense wins championships. And I think most of that quote could go not against, but for the defensive line. Especially this defensive line, man. You got Sam Kamara, dude. Even Lonnie Phelps is another name you hear. There's another big switch where plays are able to happen. They know their role. All these guys on this roster know their role. Now that Jim Schwartz is in there, I think that's a huge part of it.
And this is one of those positions we talked about my early depth chart. Looking at last year's team. Last year the Browns kept 5 defensive ends. I think this year probably you're looking at them keeping the same. Myles Garrett's obviously a lock. Zadarius Smith had an incredible year last year. He's a lock. Ogbo Okoronkwo, I would say they signed him last year with a purpose. He's a young, up-and-coming kid. He's a lock. And they really, really like Alex Wright. He didn't blow everybody away last year, but he's young, and he certainly took a big step forward. I'm a little curious who comes in next because they drafted Isaiah McGuire. They with a pretty decent pick. They drafted Isaiah Thomas with a later pick, same year as Alex Wright. He's missed a lot of time with injury. He was supposed to be the little bit more developed player with a little bit lower of a ceiling. And then you already mentioned him, but out of nowhere last year came steaming in Sam Kamara, who does not have a crazy like Browns history or draft capital, but he put up an argument to be our 3rd or 4th best pass rusher for chunks of time last season.
He showed up.
So I'm a little curious who the odd man out is in that group, because if they keep the same amount of pass rushers, 5 as last year, Myles, Zadarius, Ogbo, Alex Wright, one of those 3 guys is going to make the leap in camp this year and make this team. And the other ones are going to end up practice squad guys or off, sending tryout tapes to another team. This is one of those few rooms where I'm not positive who that is.
And again, it's a 53-man roster, so you really got to take in consideration injury prone. How many people am I going to actually need to sub in and out? Can we get the offense off the field quicker so defense isn't on the field so long, so we don't have to have a heavy rotation? All those little things.
You do have guys like Alex Wright and Zadarius Smith who maybe are thick enough that you can occasionally shift them inside, outside. That's a little bit of versatility from those 4 guys I mentioned, or those 3 guys I mentioned.
Burrows.
There you are.
You're back.
There's some good coffee.
Dylan said he's excited to see he likes the Garrett and Smith combo.
So does Pro Football Focus. They have it rated as the number 1 combo in the game.
See, and, Dylan is ahead of us.
The PFF.
Yeah,
Chad. So all you that don't know, Chad is a PFF monster.
And he's got
Love
us to love it also. I've always loved. I liked the ideal of it at the time, but now that you kind of like showed us like what to look at, now I'm like, all right, I'm liking this a
yeah,
lot.
it sucks you in. It
Yeah,
sucks you in.
I have a headache every day
So
after looking at PFF now. Thank you, Chad.
so I can say I can just say from a defensive line perspective, I don't know where the Browns rank. We have no studs that stick out. I think our highest ranked overall defensive lineman was Shelby Harris, who was like, I forget, like in the 20s or Dalvin Tomlinson was in the 20s. But the depth was there as there was like 3 other guys that were available or ranked in the top 32. When it comes to edge, on the other hand,
Beast.
Myles Garrett finished the season as not only the number 1 edge rusher, he ended the season as the number 1 overall defensive player in the league. And then Zadarius Smith finished number 16th in pass rusher. So with 32 teams, if you've got number 1 and number 16, you're sitting pretty for pass rushing, because there's 64 to like 75 guys that are playing regular rotation at that position.
Yeah, and if you're 2 good edge rushers, even if you have what you're saying, basically good, I mean above average, good enough line inside, you're going to be a great defense because they all complement each other, like you guys are saying. So that's encouraging.
And they might not have released it yet, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Browns defensive line, even though they don't have those high ranked guys, because they have a bunch of guys bundled in the 20s, I still think they probably come out ranked pretty high as overall like defensive line room, even though they don't have that one guy that's ranked like 16th. Yeah. And for a long time, that was Dalvin Tomlinson. If he returns to form, he was in the teens. He was kind of a top.
That's crazy.
Top of the league lineman.
And
but
I think,
so
like you said earlier, I'm sorry, Siaki Ike is going to actually show up this year and be a damper on every offense.
Yeah, he was one of PFF's worst players, but also I think we all watched last year. I can't remember one memorable Siaki Ika moment. I don't remember one game where it was like, wow, he looked pretty good. I don't remember him making any impact plays. He just non-existent. Mm-hmm. And for where he was drafted, they're obviously not going to give him. They're going to give him every chance to succeed as possible, but he's got to actually perform. He can't just. He's going to end up in that Anthony Schwartz zone where like you only get so many seasons to do nothing before they're going to move on. They're too good at drafting late, and they're going to take another guy and put him in your spot.
Yep.
And again, I don't want to go back to cornerbacks and all that, but man, Martin Emerson, after watching all these defensive videos earlier, that guy is amazing. I'm not going to lie, man.
Yeah, I'll be excited once we get to
I know we should,
secondary.
We're not going to talk too. Yeah, maybe next week. I know Chad's banging his head right now because I just went off into the secondary. But
so you love the secondary. That's awesome. Next week you're gonna be rolling next week.
Yeah,
dude,
I love the secondary too. I think we got a stellar secondary.
Because secondary sexy. Now you're talking about the line because like you said, like the guys in the middle, you just they're like, they're not sexy. They're just there to plug holes. Like.
Oh, Myles Garrett is sexy.
You got your 2 edge rushers. I mean, one that's sexy, and Smith, I think, is, he's not serviceable. That's a horrible term, but he's great too.
No, he's good. Yeah, he would start for most teams. He might start for every team in the league.
Yeah, for sure.
What I want everybody to do that's watching this year is look at pressures from the whole defensive line.
Yeah, they got Smith. A lot of fans are like, Zadarius didn't do anything last year. He didn't get any because they look at sack totals, right? They're like, and then you're like, dude, do you understand? Most of the Myles sacks was funneled to him because of the guy on his other side. Zadarius was leading him that way.
While triple teamed.
That's what happens.
So just so everybody else is clear, defensive player of the year is not also the sack leader of the year.
Yeah.
We clearly figured that out this year.
Not Pittsburgh. If you're in Pittsburgh, you deserve a defensive player of the year if you want to get the most sacks.
I'm not going to
And I
bash
kind of love
TJ
that
Watt.
because like people, that's what immediately people go to is like, oh, this guy had more sacks. And it's like, that's great. That's super good. But if you're like rating the best receiver in the league solely by who had the most touchdowns, when somebody else had more yards, more first downs, more contested catches, like there's all of these other categories that I just think people aren't as familiar with for defensive players as they are for offense that impacts. Again, you'd never look at running back and say the automatic best running back in the league or like the running back of the year is whoever got the more touchdowns, because that has to do a lot about goal line carries and like situational stuff, offensive line. Like people need to get that stat out of their head because it's obviously important, but it's just there's so much more to it.
So much. And I was that fan at once. Like I used to look at that, like what's his stat, like just straight stats without, PFF helps and other analytic sites help show you that pressures impact sacks. Like he can bring the quarterback this way and that guy gets a sack for him technically, or he was almost there or he hit the arm or he had to move, the quarterback had to adjust a little bit just to throw it out of bounds or whatever. I mean, there's so many variables that go to quarterbacks other than quarterback sacks.
So I just jumped on Zadarius Smith's page. 13 solo tackles, 8 assisted tackles, 1 forced fumble, 18 stops at the line of scrimmage, 6 sacks, 40 hurries, 14 quarterback hits, and 60 total registered pressured plays.
That's
how you end up. Yeah, that's how you end up as a 16th guy with only having 6 sacks when there's other guys that maybe had 8, 9 and aren't as good as you because it's situational. And this is just consistently play by play. He was kind of terrorizing the backfield.
Yeah.
And he has to play with Myles Garrett, by the way. So as much as that helps ease your job in a way, you have to beat Myles Garrett to the quarterback in order to get him back too. So by the way, it's not all like peaches and cream playing with Myles Garrett. Like he's going to be the guy making most of those plays when they're available.
So yeah, that's the way defense works. The defensive line, ladies and gentlemen, that's how it works. I want everybody to focus on that this year because I'm going to still live by that legendary saying is defense wins championships because that is very true. We watched the Houston game.
Yeah. Do yourself a favor, pay a subscription for PFF and just follow us all year as we talk about Browns, and we're gonna reference PFF a lot. So
yeah, Chad's grandfathered into that cheaper price of PFF because he's been on.
I know. Actually, I don't recommend it. I don't outright recommend it. I do not pay the same prices. I think somebody's signing up brand new, but for me, it's always been a nice resource.
PFF, if you're listening, we need a compensation for your promotion. Get us that free.
Chad's been on PFF since 1990.
I was gonna say I alone feel like I carry the PFF like mantle with me.
You're a PFF guy now.
But it is good because I think I outside of like other shows that I watch, I can't speak for you guys, but I think they go into a lot of the emotional rambling of like this player sucks as he didn't do anything. I think it's going to be cool to add that element where it's like, he may not have got a sack, but he did have 10 quarterback pressures or
some stuff you can't see watching TV unless you're watching like the All 23 or whatever it's called. And they don't talk about pressures. There's a lot there. And then when it comes to things like cornerbacks, like you don't know what a cornerback is doing if the ball gets thrown to the other side of the field. The camera doesn't even show them for a second, So when it comes to certain stuff, like everybody can see what a guy's level is. But when it comes to off plays, like you don't know if a tight end is blocking on his assignment on a running play once the running back passes him. Like, I don't know. Unless he pancakes a guy and he becomes a highlight film, like you just don't see the consistency. So PFF has its things that it can miss and its problems, but I do love it as a good way to just keep up with the non-stat positions or the consistency of a player versus like his highlight reel. But that's the defensive line.
A Jim Schwartz rant here for a minute. Do you guys remember we were one of the most penalized teams for a long time.
That's a good point.
Did you guys not see that drop dramatically after Jim
I didn't
Schwartz's
notice
discipline?
that's a valid point. I didn't really think about that until you just brought that up. We weren't penalized a lot, other than Miles averaging his offsides a game penalties that are weird, but we did pretty good. You're right.
That
I do think we sort of had this reputation of like constant penalty.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, just never
we still have
happened.
some guys. We still have some guys that need to reel it in a little bit as we go through these positions. We can hit some of those, but for the most part, I think the team is a little more disciplined. They're more focused. And again, this was their last year was their very first team, or their very first time working together in this scheme. So I think Browns fans, because we've never had consistent coaching, consistent players year after year, except for like think of the one consistent I think in Cleveland, if you can give them any, is for years they had a pretty good offensive line. And we watched them build together and grow together. We watch guys get injured and other guys just step in and fill in. For a lot of teams, aka Pittsburgh, Baltimore, places like Green Bay do a great job of it. They have that consistency, coach by coach, position by position. And now, for the first time in a long time, we might get to see a situation where the same players come back on the field under the same coach doing the same scheme, and we might actually get to see organic development of like a group.
It's discipline,
I'm
man.
excited for that, man. I'm hyped to see like year after year us just have a good defense with being able to plug in gaps when a guy leaves and just keep things going for the first time.
What we're gonna have is what Browns are not used to. It's called culture. A culture of like winning, of consistency, of if there's a guy down, you're gonna have a guy named Joe Smith come in, and he's gonna play well until the starter can come in. It's going to be great to see. It's gonna be good. You want to know why? Because you're not firing your coach every 2 or 2 years. Now you keep the same guys around a little bit. You're gonna win a little more.
Denied.
I can't wait to defend Kevin this year when he does a weird play calling, but we still win.
Here, I'm gonna take you guys ready to go for like another 10 or 15 minutes. I'll play our ads real quick, and then we can go for another 10 or 15. I don't care. 15 minutes. You guys got 15 minutes?
We've already hit an hour. I thought that was our limit.
Yeah. Defensive line just stopped you, Chad.
Scrap it. Scrap it.
Yeah, we're gonna
Scrap it. Let's go. Let's roll.
Yeah, we're gonna just keep it rolling. We're gonna play some ads, and we're gonna keep it going.
Play an
We'll be-
ad.
We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Angel from the Bearded Browns podcast, and I got some mind-blowing news for you. Did you know that the soaring auto insurance costs are fueling the inflation at an even faster rate than expected? Car insurance prices shot up by an unbelievable 2.7% in a month, and that's a staggering 2.2% year over year, and that's not all. The rising costs are piling on top of already sky-high prices of new and used vehicles since the pandemic, as well as the increasing expenses for vehicle repairs. But fear not, because I got the solution for you. Meet Doug White. He's from Allstate Insurance. He's your go-to guy for all things insurance, whether it's auto insurance, home insurance, renter insurance, condo insurance, motorcycle insurance, business insurance, ATV insurance, boat insurance, even, most importantly, life insurance. Doug here got you covered. And guess what? You can bundle them all together to get maximum savings. Doug is your local legend, serving the Olmsted Falls community for a whopping 16 years. Not only is he a diehard Browns fan, but he's also deeply passionate about his city and its people. What are you waiting for? Give Doug a call at 1-440-235-8500. That's 1-440-235-8500. Or simply go to Google's and look up Doug White Allstate Insurance. And if you see this face, then you know you found the right guy for all your insurance needs. Don't let your insurance company keep a hold of your hard-earned money. Call Doug today. And remember, you're in good hands with Allstate. With that being said, Go Browns! Hey everyone, this is
We're back. And I brought a Cincinnati Bengals fan in that can't hear what we're saying.
Boo.
This is amazing. He wanted to be
Gross.
on the show tonight. So I told him come in at the end, and everybody just said you're gross. You got anything to say to them? You said womp womp. I guess that's the new thing now for kids to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Typical Cincinnati fan. No.
Yeah.
He's so mad. If I get knocked out during the show, this kid is he's in his red and black belt right now. So
Okay.
I'll do a karate
It's probably
chop.
fun to be a Bengals fan. Everybody loves Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
The
Joe
receivers
Burrow.
are awesome.
Chase is
hot
good.
It's hot to watch that receiver room, but I feel like that is one really, really good team that we always seem to match up well with. So
you know what my
Let's keep that-
favorite
let's keep
part
that
of
trend
last year was when Myles Garrett sacked Joe Burrow
Oh, in the rain.
in the rain
Yeah.
in Cincinnati, I believe, as well.
He pulled a
oh, you're
Super
about to
Saiyan.
get jump kicked.
Oh,
You're about
dude,
to
I
get
didn't
jump
even see
kicked.
that.
Yeah. He did a Super Saiyan afterwards. That was
Yes.
dope. That was dope.
My favorite picture. But yeah, he wanted to be
Yeah,
here.
so we're coming back. We're talking a little bit during the commercial about bringing in Mike Hall, so I wanted to swing back to that.
Yep.
I kept mentioning that they drafted him for a specific reason, and I think it's not a secret. Schwartz, if you watch some of the draft shows, if you watch the special on Unleashed, they've mentioned several times, defensive line coach as well, that they picked this kid and they were excited to get this kid in the second round because I think Barry said it was the last defensive lineman that they had in a tier, and the last defensive lineman they had at their list, who was a interior pass rusher who had one just very redeemable quality that you can't so much just draft developer teaches, that he was just incredible at getting interior pressure, and so they couldn't stand missing him at that spot. And I think that's a really positive thing for a reason as it makes Andrew Berry very unpredictable, because that's not like the quote, analytical pick that everybody thinks he has to make with every pick. But two, he's pretty candid about it, where this kid, we very, very much value getting interior pressure on the quarterback, which Mike brought up several times. And he said, and this kid is just one of the guys in the draft who just absolutely excels and is better than his peers at that one thing. And what I love about that is not only are you starting to talk this Bill Belichickian thing of find something that someone does well, recognize it, and put him in a position to do that.
Get it.
He's in the perfect position to do that. We don't have to count on him. He doesn't have to go down there down to down. He doesn't have to be an every play defensive lineman. He has to be somebody that they can trot out there on third down and say, it's third down and 11.
Assassin.
Make this so uncomfortable for the quarterback. He's a guy that you can put out there, in more speed situations, hurry up defenses, or defenses to combat hurry up offenses, and just say, rush the passer. Don't think about it. Just cause pressure. So I'm excited about the room that he's in and his ability to just come in as a rookie and do that and develop those other skills that he seems physically capable of later. On the special, they mentioned, we think he has so much more potential to be a better pro than he was in college, which is a kind of a unique thing to hear because of the level of competition. But they said basically he was just asked to do this specific thing in college, and the way he played, and for us, he can come in and do that same thing, and develop the other skills he needs to be an all-around defensive lineman.
From
So I'm excited about that.
Ohio State University.
The
Ohio State.
Not only that,
that's right.
Sorry,
People out here, by the way, think that it's hilarious that we do that. Like they're
doesn't this kid look like Joe Burrow a little bit? It's kind of annoying.
Is that why he likes him? Is that like a connection that he has?
Is that why he has a hair flip?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't have hair, so I can't do it.
Go ahead, Angel. You wanted to say something.
We were talking about break, like the opportunity Mike Hall has, and I think he's going to be more of an assassin situation where it's situational. It's like he was saying, third down and long, go in there and just rush the quarterback, just kill it. You know what I mean? And disrupt. What this affords you to, and is to show you where we've gone from where we were 4 years ago before we brought in this regime. We were hoping 4 or 5 years ago we were like, all right, Mike Hall, 3rd round pick, he's going to start, and we hope
he has to.
He has to start. He has to. And forget his development. Forget his development. Forget the fact that we have to slowly rush him in, and fans are going to be like, "Oh, he's going to kill it. He's going to kill it," because he's from the Ohio State University. Everyone kills it from there, right? And then we get let down because his development was never developed, and he was only able to do this one thing, and teams caught on and was able to latch on him because he's starting every game. So teams are able to catch on to it, and then he couldn't grow from there. Now we have the affordability to be like, Mike Hall, just take your time, bro. Like we got depth. We just want you to do your one thing. Get comfortable with the play calling. Get comfortable with the scheme. And then next year we're gonna add a little more. Then we're gonna add a little more. Then we're gonna add a little more. Then we're gonna make you a star. Browns fans, you have that. You have that. Enjoy it. Embrace it. Stop complaining about little petty stuff. We'll talk about that later, but that's my take on it.
Looks like I have a Joe Burrow cutout board next to me. It's weird.
Throw that kid in a Bengals jersey and just have him stand there and look in the distance.
He wanted to go put his Bengals jersey on, but he's got a Burrow jersey, and he wanted to put it on. I'm like, no.
No, not on a Browns
Go
show.
put it on.
You got so excited.
Super excited.
So wait, I got to ask, how did this happen?
Dude, I don't know. So listen, Chad, I'm not going to BS you. This kid was a Bengals fan before Joe Burrow, and he grew up in a Browns home. That's what crazy. I don't get.
How did that hapen?
Dude,
I mean, I hate to say
I could take care of it.
There's a lot to like about the Bengals, except for they made a Super Bowl recently.
Yeah.
I think their uniforms are pretty sweet, pretty cool mascot. Like I said, their receiver room is one of my favorites in the NFL, maybe top 3. But I just don't know how that happens in a Browns home. It's crazy.
And there's Joe Burrow.
I love it. He put the bandana on, too.
Yeah, he did, too.
Yeah, he's got to put the bandana on.
Oh, punk. But yeah,
all right, he'll get his someday.
Yeah, see, I don't have a problem with the Bengals either. They're an Ohio team. I like their uniforms. They are cool. They match ours. Anyways, I don't have a problem with the Bengals at all. But since he is a Bengals fan, I have to have a problem now.
You have a problem now.
Yeah,
and
we created the problem.
Yes, him and I have argued via text all week. He's like, yeah, you guys may be the dog pound, but we're the kitty kingdom.
Oh, wow. That's a tough one.
Yeah. Yes, I hope that spreads.
That's something.
What did you say?
Tiger Kingdom, you sound so dumb saying Kitty Kingdom.
And
it's the Tiger Kingdom, he said. Kitty Kingdom. Either way, they're both kitties, so. I like Kitty Kingdom better. I like the Kitty Kingdom. We'll stick with that. Oh, man.
Is this mic going nuts over here?
Yeah.
No, I tried to put the mic on him and just botched that completely.
That's why you don't bring on a rival team fan on the show.
I think he sabotaged me.
Yeah.
It looks like it. This
is going to be a good reel, though.
From the bottom while you were not paying attention.
He's like, take that, sucker.
Oh, crap.
But
no, yeah, but
I'm excited with you. I'm excited with your culture talk, man. It makes me kind of hyped up to know that Jarvis Landry wasn't solely the only cultural person with this team, because for a lot of times it's like it's all Jarvis, and
Yep.
then Jarvis is gone and things don't collapse. Like it keeps going. It's Baker, and then it's Miles, and it's Chubb, and it's Stefanski and Barry, and it's becoming just the Browns organization, and it's still got a while. It still has a while to go to hit consistency, but this is the closest we've seen since this team came back into the league, and that's exciting. Watching just talking defensive line, like you could feel the culture. There's a cultural element to how they played last year, and there's a cultural element to how they're continuing to kind of build and get guys to return. I mean, Shelby Harris is back. Quentin came over here from the Jets. Hurst re-signed. Like Zadarius Smith is back. Like guys are continuing to want to be here, and it's not just because we were winning. It's because they want to be here. It's a culture they like. They like the coaches. They like the camaraderie. So I'm hyped for that.
Yeah, Jim Schwartz I'm sure has a lot to do with them wanting to come back, because they know that he's going to put them in situations that they're going to get the stats that they need to look good.
It's probably a fun defense to play in.
Yeah, especially next week when we talk about corners and what the secondary and what they're able to do in this game. That's what makes it. That's what makes a whole big team exciting. Because if everybody does their job, like he was preaching last year, everybody does your job, we're gonna be all right. And it seemed like when everybody did their job, their defense was just incredible. But when you had a couple people who were off, who went left a little bit instead of right, that's when we had a lot of problems in our secondary. Welcome back, Mike.
Yeah,
that's what happens when you bring a Bengals fan into the show, man. Just things fall apart. Apparently,
everything gets torn apart.
Just like that organization.
I remember when that organization was a mess. They're still cheap. They're still cheap as heck.
Yeah, they're still
I remember
cheap.
when that organization was a mess, and I long for those days again.
It's gonna happen. It's the biggest thing with us this year is interconference again, because every team is. I'm not gonna say the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they got Tomlin. Man, we had this conversation earlier where Angel said something about the Steelers, and Chad said something, and I said it's a Tomlin effect.
Yeah,
and
it's that they got the culture there is pretty good. They win. I mean,
and they all don't love him, but the one consistent there is him.
Yeah,
and their owner. They have an ownership group that kind of knows how to breed consistency. They don't hire new coaches. They don't have a lot of turnover. But I think in Cleveland we got kind of like conditioned for turnover. Like we need a new GM. We need a new coach.
Yep.
If something goes wrong, it's never like we need to fix this problem in the offseason. It's we need to cut bait and bring in new guys. And that's just not happening. And I'm a big consistency guy. I'm hearing it for the Cavs now. Like, oh man, the Cavs need to just blow it up. And I'm like, blow it up. They went from not winning in the play-in game to making the playoffs and losing in the first round to making the playoffs and losing in the second round. Like, I don't see blow it up. I see find a way to get to the next level, like continue to build. Yeah, it's not like you can't win both ways, but like that's I think a very Cleveland take is just I don't know. It didn't work. Blow it up. Start over. And the Browns are making it very clear that's not how they want to get down.
You know what's bad about Bengals fans is they don't shut the hell up. This kid's I could hear him with my headphones on, just blah 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 right in my ear.
I've barely spoken.
Yes,
is that Bengals fans or is that just kids? I a
little bit of both.
Good point.
Good point.
Most Bengal fans are kids, anyways. But that's besides.
It's worse when they're talking about the Bengals than when they're talking about something else.
Yes. Why don't you do like that picture's doing right now and just fade away?
Did you tell him that Joe Burrow's wrist is broken forever and that he may never throw football again?
Look at him fading away just like Joe Burrow's career.
Since the Super Bowl.
He's back. But his wrist still broken.
The Super Bowl. We respect Joe Burrow. He used to be a Buckeye.
We didn't even talk about it. So we went through the defensive ends. We went through the defensive line. I feel like we kind of got the message out there of where they're going, where the uncertainties are, where they're strong, and kind of what direction they're going with the line. and their expectations. What do we got on the dock for? What direction are we going for next week?
Let's do secondary because I think that's the most exciting part of the team outside of, actually that is the most exciting part of the team is our secondary, in my opinion.
I think we can knock out linebackers, cornerbacks, and safeties.
All of them?
Yes,
That's
all
a lot
of
players.
them.
That's a lot of players.
What does that leave us with? That just leaves us with running backs and tight ends, though.
I can spend a whole show talking about JOK.
Right, so next week, here's what we're gonna do.
So we still have we have offensive line, running backs, tight ends, linebackers, safeties, cornerbacks. So we got six position groups.
Next week, let's do running backs and tight ends. We'll switch offense, defense. And
that's gonna be a short show.
No, not really. We could make it happen. We always got some kind of stuff coming up. We got mini camp coming up. There's some stuff to talk about.
Yeah,
I wish we had it perfectly lined up where it could be like tight ends and safeties, cornerbacks and wide receivers, and like running backs and linebackers. Or like next year we're gonna have to do like an offense, defense, each other thing.
Next year we'll have this planned out more accordingly as well.
This is called the OTA.
For those that don't know, the planning for next week's show just happened.
That just happened.
So that's kind of how this goes. So that's kind of how this is being run at the moment. But
hey, man, we're learning and growing, and you're witnessing it. By this time next year, you're gonna be like, man, they used to plan their show on the show.
All four listeners that we have are the OGs are gonna be like, listen, 8,000 other people that will be listening by then. Like, you should have seen how this all happened right in front of our eyes.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
I want to touch base with everything real quick. So I started doing this chat on my own, just on a whim. I'm like, you know what? I like the Browns. I'm going to talk about the Browns. And then I met Chad through Facebook Reels.
Angel.
I'm sorry, crap. I met Angel through Facebook Reels.
Chad was like, me? You met me?
And I was like, hey, man, you want to try to do a podcast together? And he's like, sure. And it worked out. And
we both have beards.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So that's literally how it happened. You're like, you have a beard.
I
had I had my wife, God bless her. She would do Browns like dad jokes for me. She would make fun of the Browns basically. But it started to run out because the Browns started to get good. I'm like, I can't do this now. They're good. They're not bad. It's unrelatable. So I ended up switching up. But yeah, he found me through that. And then he's like, let's do a podcast. I'm like, I'm willing to try.
Okay.
And then California Chad came along.
Chadillac.
Yeah, and just so you know, the first episode I was on this show, I actually had a real beard at the time. Not quite that long, but I had like the actual beard. And now every week, if people might have been watching on repeat, it just has gotten a little shorter, a little shorter, a little shorter.
They're like, hey, is he even on the show? Why is that?
Next week it might be a 5 o'clock shadow, and then I'll probably let it start growing back towards the season, so that during season it just comes back.
So I always had the longest beard on a show, and now I cut like an inch off yesterday, and I think me and Angel are almost like
it's getting close.
Yeah, actually, I'm trimming mine on Thursday, so we might be equal after that.
Yes.
It's messy, right?
Mine really does go like from like a. I mean, if you're using clippers like a 1, I never actually I haven't shaved in forever, but if you're using clippers like a 1 to like, I don't know, like a probably bigger than a clipper would do, like probably like a 2-inch length, and then literally down until it's back down to like a 1, and then
grow
through the season it gets bigger. It's like my freaking weight. It's like up 10 pounds of beard, down 10 pounds of beard.
I can't believe I'm able to do this in this hot weather. It's just like now it's just natural.
I'm used to it. Yeah.
It's not for me, man. I did that 1 week in Arizona, and I came back here and immediately like shaved off an inch of it. I was like, nope.
Chad, you could be the only one on the show that doesn't have a beard. If you want to do that, well, you could be that guy.
I want to represent all of the levels of beard, like from like stubble to
smart
like
man.
You should see it when it's long. It's like, I guess it's not that far from like Angel's like kind of texture. It's like it turns really red though, and it's like super curly, like weirdly round and curly. Like it's got this like Amish thing to it, where it's like, oh,
We can call you hostile Amish Chad.
so wide, so hot, so wide. It's like, bah. So
Yeah, I got red tint on my hair, my beard. My wife was like, "You got a little red." And I was like, "Yeah." A little Irish. My mom,
This-
half Irish, half Hispanic. I mean, that's where I get my coarse beard from.
This used to be all red, and then I had to deal with this kid. Now I got all these grays.
that's what happens. They take a year off your life every month they're alive.
Every month.
I guess we have 2 more seasons of this show to go before we lose Mike forever. Just withers away like an old man.
Oh man, I'm just gonna whittle
Kids
away.
are taking my energy away.
Especially being a Bengals fan, that's not good, man. It's not good for the soul.
Maybe he'll change his tune. Hey, you never know. He might change his tune someday.
The way this kid has been talking crap to me all week, I don't think it's going to change at all, Chad. Angel knows. We've had him on a couple other shows.
Yeah. Kids will be kids. Darn those kids.
And he wants to do stats. Like just the stats after the game. And I'm like, no, you're a Bengals fan, dude. No. You done messed up.
Why? But I'd be so
I wanted to do one stat.
Yeah, it's called when they lose.
Wins, losses. Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
do Browns win 5, Bengals lose 5.
5.
What are they 5 on the last 6 games?
One
the
and-
Browns are
one
5
and-
and 1. That's
Yeah,
1 and
that's a
5.
good
kind of stat
stat.
I like.
You know what his argument is this week is that we beat the Kansas City Chiefs all the time. I'm like, who cares? So do we, unless they do helmet-to-helmet contact.
True.
Come on, get out of here, kid. Yeah,
No.
go brush your teeth.
No.
Go to
Bengals
bed.
fan. Yeah, why aren't you in bed?
Summer?
Oh, his excuse is it's summer.
Joe Burrow's sleeping
yeah.
right now.
Oh,
Joe
I
Burrow's
forgot
in
kids are out
bed.
of school, man. I'm sorry. That's like a whole nother level of like.
I have a.
Jeff,
I'm a
I will
fullback.
not let him start a Bengals podcast. No, not going to happen.
You said I should.
You should on your
You're
own
grounded.
stuff.
Where?
You produce it.
Plus, nobody's gonna listen, man.
Oh, I'll produce that.
I don't got
I
a
will
gaming
definitely
laptop.
produce that. I'll sell Brown stuff the whole show. Cool. We got it.
You spelled Bengals wrong. That's funny. Ha.
Us as Browns fans don't spell Bengals correctly on purpose.
Bungles.
Why'd you spell with an A?
Bang- Bengals with a U.
Bungle.
B-E-N.
But yeah, next week, what do you guys say? Do you want to do running backs and tight
Running
ends?
backs, tight ends. Yep, we'll do that. We'll hit up on
All right.
news that pops
All right.
up.
As much as I want to go to the secondary, because Chad
Say the
sensed that.
best.
He's like, dude, you got, yeah, like I could tell Mike wants to talk about it.
I
Yes.
would do secondary. Yeah, we can do it. I could do either. It's either, but I'd rather leave. If we're gonna do secondaries, I think we should leave the linebackers maybe, or we'll get in this really wonky position where we have O-line, tight ends, and running backs left, and that seems like a weird podcast.
Yeah.
We can do secondary. Let's do secondary. Forget it. We don't need to follow any rotation.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We're good at that. Winging it
Stay
since
tuned next week
2023.
for whatever we decide on later.
We're gonna leave some excitement for you guys. You'll find out by 7:00 Tuesday next week what we're gonna talk about.
Last
No.
minute Bearded
Last
Browns
minute.
podcast.
No, we'll have something hopefully by the weekend, because I would like to
Okay.
draw some. I want to look smart too. Okay, guys.
Bengals fan, I need you to fade away, please, before we end this show. You need to fade away. Do it. You do it the best. Come on. Do it. There he goes. Oh, just like Joe Burrow's career. See ya. Oh, he's back.
Oh, he just karate chopped you again.
Get away, Daniel, son. But yeah, we'll keep in touch with everybody and let you know what we're going to talk about next week. It's going to be a good show, just like today. Today was awesome. There's going to be plenty of room for funny reels, I think, this week because of this character over here. And whatever we talk about next week it's going to be big because you got the mandatory mini camp coming up as well. We could bring that up.
Start to get some real news from camp.
Yes, Deshaun Watson was sewing today as well, just so everybody is aware of that. So that's looking good. Jameis Winston actually does look pretty decent besides that 9-yard wobbly pass that I still can't get over a week later. I'm still on
By
that.
the way, I watched his press conference. I get
Yeah.
it, man. He's so likable.
He's likable,
Immediately,
man.
I was like, dang, he's so fun to listen to.
He's
He's talking about the golf outing and everything that they
Yeah.
did. I saw all the reels from the golf outing.
That guy-
Guys can sling it.
He's humble.
But yeah, that's good. That's
Serious.
good. You're coming around to Jameis, famous Jameis.
Man, I want to do more quarterback talk, but it is time to go to bed. So
follow all our socials, like, comment, subscribe, let people know about us. That would be great. We appreciate all you guys, all 4 of you there that are watching.
it is time for bed over here in the eastern part of the world, but then you got Chad where it's
He's
6
going to
o'clock,
get some
6:13 right now at Chad's. Lucky
Bright and
guys, still
sunny.
daylight. Look at that. Look at that. That's not
Bright and
fair.
sunny. Bright and sunny.
You know what? But yeah, you know what? You enjoy that daylight.
It's
We don't have
warmer where you're
earthquakes.
at. Yeah, it's
As weird as that
you guys are
sounds.
10 degrees warmer than me. I'm wearing long sleeves. Look at this.
Yeah,
long
I couldn't.
sleeves.
There's no way, dude. Nope, not today.
Short sleeves.
So,
Yeah.
anyways,
All right.
it is 9:13,
We
June
went-
4th,
Congrats,
and I'm not gonna say that. Deshaun Watson is still our quarterback. We will see you guys next week.